43. Time to do this.
The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Talking politics with Phil Goff.
Yeah, with Phil Goff. Good morning, Phil.
G'day, Wammo. How did you know it was me that was
I
calling
just know. I can feel the vibes coming through the telephone.
Good on you.
Are you well this morning?
Yes, I'm well. I've got a day in Auckland today. We've got Parliament in recess before we go back for the final session. So I've got a big program around Auckland and South Auckland, and then off to Wellington tomorrow. And of course, one of the events of this week will be the rather sad memorial service down in Greymouth. And things just seem to get worse in the mine with a coal fire now underway there after a fourth explosion. So it makes it very hard. The condition of the people that are down there that are retrieved will I think be pretty awful, and that's an extra burden on the families.
Absolutely. And the Royal Commission of Inquiry, that's the most suitable way to figure out exactly what happened here?
Yeah, there's not a lot of difference between a Commission of Inquiry and a Royal Commission. The Royal Commission has a few extra powers, but it does need to be high level. It does need to be independent, and there are all the obvious questions that will have to be in the terms of reference. What happened? Why did it happen? Could it have been predicted or avoided? And what do we do to stop this sort of thing happening again? That will be the focus, and the Royal Commission needs to have a totally open mind. It'll hear submissions, it'll hear evidence. And at the same time, there'll be a lot of other inquiries. The Department of Labour will be having an inquiry. At some point, there'll be an inquest. The police will be considering whether there's anything that might justify their laying charges. So all of these things are going to be happening, but I guess what most of us are wanting is some sort of closure for the families now, and that means retrieval of the bodies. And we hope that the gag machine that they've brought in from Australia will be effective, and that the remains of those underground can be retrieved as quickly as possible.
Phil, let's head overseas now to the situation on the Korean Peninsula, the most serious aggression there since the early 1950s. A lot of bluster and rhetoric from the North Koreans. Is it as serious as some people are saying, or is this just every few months they like to have a wee whack at South Korea?
Well, it is a serious situation, and one of the things that might make it more serious is there could be an underlying power struggle as Kim Jong-il nears the end of his regime. He has nominated a son and made him a four-star general, never had any military experience that I'm aware of. It's a very odd regime in North Korea. It's the last Stalinist regime in the world. Human rights abuses are absolutely appalling. They run a command economy which fails absolutely. They don't even pick up the model that China provides right next door to them of how to run a proper economy so you can feed your people and give them decent living standards. And there's no such thing as the rule of law or human rights. Now, we've had two acts of aggression. One, the sinking of an inshore patrol vessel, the Cheonan, that resulted in the death of 46 South Korean sailors, and then this latest incident that's resulted in 2 civilian and 2 military deaths. Look, nobody wants a war. I can understand the anger building up in South Korea and, popular demand that their government respond appropriately. But the best thing that could happen is to try to bring the five-party talks together to get the Chinese to exercise what influence they can on the North Koreans, and to try to talk the situation down.
Well, what about the role the states plays? I mean, why do they always want to go and stir the pot by sending an aircraft carrier in there and having exercises, war games with South Korea?
Well, I guess what they'd say is that they would that this was a message to the North Koreans that further aggression wouldn't be tolerated. I suppose other people would have different judgments about whether it's wise to heat the situation up. What you're dealing with is an irrational regime, which makes it a hell of a lot harder. Look, I don't think you can tolerate acts of aggression like that, but what you don't want is to have another outburst of war on the Korean Peninsula. The North Koreans have got pretty basic nuclear weapons and delivery systems. A lot of people could die in that instance. So you've got to try to work the situation through with means other than simply all-out warfare. And I think that with the assistance of the Chinese government that does have influence over North Korea, you can probably achieve that.
And of course, some of the situation has been created by American foreign policy, and that's the next topic I want to jump on to, particularly with the release of all these Wikileaks documents. Do you take any interest in some of these documents that are released and some of the facts that it reveals about how America conducts its foreign policy around the world?
Well, they are interesting leaks, and a small country like New Zealand should always be sceptical about the way in which large countries manage their foreign relations and the techniques they use. Look, by and large, New Zealand is a good friend of the United States. We share a lot of things in common, democratic values, human rights values, and so on. But we're not clones of the United States. We are independent, should be independent, although I worry that the national government is moving away from that independent perspective. But we need to be seen by the world, and we need to be true to our own values in terms of being independent and having a values-based foreign policy. Where we agree with the United States, we should work closely with them and any other country. Where we disagree, we should have the courage, the guts to stand up and express our differences. And we did over Iraq, and we did over nuclear policy. And lo and behold, over nuclear policy, the United States has been moving in the direction of New Zealand's position rather than the other way around. And that's a good thing for a small country that can have a say and can be true to its principles.
Phil Goff, thanks very much for your time.
Okay, thanks,
Cheers.
Wammo. Cheers, mate.
Leader of the Labour Party.